So coming in at number 3 in the SEC, we've got the University of Tennessee up on Rocky Top. They came into the season with a 2023 record of 9-4, improved that, went up to 10-3. They're coached by Josh Heupel in his 4th season. They had a final ranking, 9 in the AP, 8 in the coaches poll. Overall, it was a strong season. They made the playoff, had a first class tier 1 running back, that won some awards and was a really big part of that team's identity this year. And it was, they got a good win over Bama. So I think for Tennessee, they had a good year for them. They're probably still disappointed that they didn't beat Georgia, but they did make the playoff. They had their chance, and they went about as far as I think they could have been expected to go.
Yeah, I think this year for Tennessee, I think if from their perspective, this year was surprising to them. And not necessarily surprising because they were, they had a solid team or they were able to make the playoff, but surprising in how they did it. Tennessee under Josh Heupel has been this team that's known as this high-powered offense that scores fast and puts up these big numbers with quick pass game. That was not the Tennessee that we saw in 2024. This was a play defense and grinded out team that was really, totally revolved around Dylan Sampson on the offensive side of the ball. And that's what they were. They were a solid defense, but they had another big win over Alabama. So once again, they rushed their field again after beating Alabama, but then they came up short when they played Georgia. And then when they did still make the playoff, but they ran into a buzzsaw that was Ohio State just starting to heat up. And they brought their fans up there, which was impressive. And but they didn't stand a chance when Ohio State got hot. So Tennessee had some weaknesses this year, and it was different than just what they've been in recent years. And so for me, once again, Tennessee's another school that the expectations might not have been as high as Georgia and Texas, but they still were high. They had aspirations to make the playoffs, which they did. And so for me, I give Tennessee a grade of a B+.
Yeah, I went with a B-. Not winning the conference. They got absolutely destroyed in the first round of the playoff. They did have that good win over Bama, but then, some, questionable losses. Against Arkansas, that didn't make any sense for a team that actually made the playoff. So for me, it's a B-, especially after, the beginning of the season, all the hype around Nico and everybody just wanting to give him the Heisman. But then, like you said, it didn't turn out, their offense didn't turn out to be that pass-happy, Heupel offense that we're used to. So B-, final answer.
So once again, we've got a situation. I went B+, you went B-. So I say we average that together, and our Tennessee grade for 2024 is a B.
But, did they have as good a season as Texas and Georgia?
But remember, Tennessee's expectations were different than Texas and Georgia. Texas and Georgia have both been teams that have been in the 4-team playoff. Tennessee never made the 4-team playoff. Tennessee has not won a conference championship in recent years. Texas was a conference champion last year. Georgia was a conference champion 2 years ago and a national champion 2 years ago. So the expectation level of a Tennessee is different than the expectation level of a Texas or a Georgia. To me, as a Tennessee fan, I would be very satisfied to the fact that we did make the playoff. They've never made the playoff before under any circumstances. This was their first shot to kind of be in the national conversation at the end of the season, arguably since 1998. So for me, Tennessee, I think, lived up to its expectations. They didn't win at all, and they didn't go far in the playoff, but they still made it.
Yeah, it's just that they got destroyed at the end. Like, it wasn't even a fight.
But that was the Ohio State team that won the national championship.
Still, compared to all right, then take Texas. They could have won had they not called the dumbest play of all time against Ohio State.
But they didn't. Once again,
No,
that's Texas. That's not Tennessee. That's Texas. Texas's expectations were different. They were in the semifinals last year. They were a conference champion last year. Tennessee wasn't. Tennessee was worse last year than they had been the year before that.
I'll meet you in the middle, but I don't like it.
All right.
I don't think it's good. They're not good of a season as Texas and Georgia.
Maybe not as good a season as Texas and Georgia, but once again, you can't grade Tennessee the same way that you grade Georgia and Texas because they don't have the same resumes.